All right, Melissa, thank you very much. And President Obama is getting an earful from Republican leaders who are blaming him for the Dow's drop, the budget, and so many other things. Well, now a former Republican is taking aim at, well, the Republican Party. His name is Frank Schaffer, and he's written an open letter to GOP leaders saying, in part, quote, "You Republicans are the arsonists who burned down our national home, and now you have the nerve to criticize the architect America just hired, President Obama, to rebuild from the ashes." And with me now is Frank Schaffer. He's also the author of Crazy for God. Frank, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Tamara.
So before we talk about this letter, establish your Republican credentials, if you will. I know recently you worked for Senator McCain's campaign.
Right. My father, Francis Schaffer, was a well-known evangelical leader, really formed the religious right along with people like Jerry Falwell, Pat Robertson, and the others. So for me to be a pro-Obama advocate at this point, it really surprised people who knew me back, say, 20 years ago when I was out there with C. Everett Koop and Ronald Reagan and others working on the pro-life cause and so forth. But my point of view right now is that the Republicans have become to our war against economic collapse what Jane Fonda was when she was in Vietnam rooting for the other side. And my sense is that we really need to pull together now and root for the president no matter who we voted for, and that Republicans really are making an enormous mistake by rooting against him and against our country. And that's what I've been writing about.
What's been the response, especially from your Republican and conservative friends?
Well, they were already angry with me because of this book I wrote called Crazy for God, how I grew up as one of the elect, founded the religious right, and lived to take all or almost all of it back. And that book essentially charts the course from the religious right and the neoconservatives to the place we are now, where the party's been taken over by ideological extremists. So when you look at people like Rush Limbaugh talking about the president failing and how he wishes that would happen, that's not unusual or extreme. That's where the Republicans are today. They hate the president. They will do whatever they can to stop him, even if they bring our country down with them. And it's time to call it as we see it.
Well, you have Republican leaders who are saying now it is time to get back to their conservative values. That certainly things happened of the past 8 years, and the spending was out of control. But now they want to restructure and get back to the conservative brand. And that's what they're doing. They say that they're not being obstructionists, as some have accused them.
They have driven the American country over the cliff. They brought us to an unnecessary war that's cost us $3 trillion instead of investing in our infrastructure and education and environmental concerns, giving us a green economy. It's a little late to close that barn door and suddenly be fiscally responsible when these people backed a president who started a war that we didn't need to be in Iraq, that has cost us an enormous amount of money. My son fought in the Marine Corps, by the way, in the president's war, and even so, I can say that that was something that I don't think we should have been in. The fact of the matter is the Republicans now don't have a philosophy or an agenda, as I write about in my book. The religious right, the neoconservatives have taken over the party. The rank and file mainly consists of white, middle and lower middle class Americans who dislike this president, voted against him. There's a few people of color put up there, token up front. But honestly, right now, the Republicans, I believe, are bankrupt. They need to be called on it, and they are obstructionists. And they are in the same position that Jane Fonda was in, going to North Vietnam, rooting for the North Vietnamese when we were in that war. We're in another war now. This is an economic war, and everybody who loves this country has to stand together and back our president.
And Frank, just to make this balance, the Republicans are saying that they are fighting this economic war, but in the way in which they feel is best for the country. Frank, thank you very much. Incredible conversation. I know a lot of people will have something to say about what you just said. Thank you.
Thank you.